I'm very happy to be here at Abhayagiri Monastery once again. The last time I was here about 2 years ago. It was in the midst of the COVID pandemic. We're now in hopefully the latter stages. With the last time there was a series of 6 mini katinas, 6 days in a row, and all the doors were open, or having to sit out on the breezeway, and everything was a lot cooler. So it's very nice to be all gathered in a single cozy space together, and to have a lot more possibility for direct communication, spending time together, and for things to be in a more comfortable and accessible mode for everybody. Earlier today at the tea time, there was a question about not self, anatta, and so I feel this is a good, valuable theme for us to explore. In the Buddha's second teaching, the Anattalakkana Sutta, where he seemingly was the first occasion where he explained this method of understanding the nature of mind, understanding the nature of delusions and how to let go of them. And in that teaching was the one that first produced the enlightened disciples. In the Dhammacakka Sutta, the very first teaching, he explained the middle way and the Four Noble Truths, and that was the cause for Venerable Kandanya to reach the level of stream entry. But it was when he gave the second teaching, the Anattalakkana Sutta, the discourse on not self, then all 5 of his companions in the deer park outside of Varanasi, all 5 of them realized arahantship altogether. So it's an extremely significant teaching, and one that is, I would say, is totally relevant in this current age, in this time, in this place. I like to reflect upon this sutta, this teaching, a lot, because in it the Buddha describes some of the various different kinds of what you can call selfing, and those of you who are familiar with the sutta, probably you chant it here at Abhayagiri from time to time. The words the Buddha uses to explore the habits of self-creation, the selfing tendencies of the mind, he uses 3 different expressions. Etang mama, this is mine. Eso hamasmi, this is what I am. Eso me atta, this is myself. And so I know in Western psychology there are many, many different kinds of selves, or different dimensions of selfhood that are talked about. But I feel this is a very good starting point. Because what was being discussed at tea time is that the teaching on anatta, it's not a philosophical position to attach to, that I believe that all dhammas are not self, or there is no self, but rather it's a toolkit, it's a set of tools in order to deconstruct these various habits of selfing, how we create this idea of an independent I, an independent person. And so the first one in that list is etang mama. Mama means mine, so it's a feeling of owning. This is my robe, my sangati. This is my sitting cloth. This is my body. That feeling of I as the owner. That sense of there's a me here that can possess things, that can possess ideas and feelings, can possess material objects. So that first psychological formation that the Buddha points to is this feeling of ownership. Etang mama, this is mine. And then the second one, eso hamasmi, asmi means I am. So the first one is an owning self. The second one is a being self. That sense of I am, that sense of beingness. There's this defined entity. This is me. This is me. Whatever that me might be constituted of, that it's this sense of individual, independent being. That me-ness is the second one. And then the third one I like to call the narrative self, eso me ata. And in the suttas, in the teachings, when it's talked, this is talked about, say the clinging attavad upadana and eso me ata. Often it's talked about in terms of your philosophical belief, your sense of the ideas that you have about the nature of the atta, the atman, what the self is, and how it exists in relationship to the universe, and like a philosophical opinion. But I feel it's to broaden the description or the definition is more helpful. So it's when people say, "Well, who are you?" What do? We say, "Oh, I am Ajahn Amaro." That's we say our name. Oh, and where are you from? What do you do? So that this narrative self, as I like to call it, it's the work we do, our role in the world, our identity as a teacher, as a doctor, as a Buddhist monastic, as a retired person or an unemployed person, or a failed Buddhist, or a successful meditator, or I'm a Theravadan. This kind of stories that we tell about ourselves when we meet each other and we define what we are. So this is what you put on your business card, what you put on your name card, what you put on your CV. That's all in the eso me ata, the narrative self. And just by naming those three, those first three that the Buddha highlights in the Anattalakkana Sutta, there's already a lot there. I think that we can all recognize. We think, there's that feeling of owning, of having, of possessing. Yeah, that's definitely familiar. A sense of identity. I am a sense of being. Of I am separate. I am this entity, this individual, and there's other individuals in the world outside, and I am this thing, this one, this being here. And then our story. Being a woman, being a man, being of undefined gender or many genders, our age, our nationality, our identity in the workplace, and all of these things, they take on a lot of value in our lives, in our minds. And I'm not being psychic and not reading anybody's mind, but this is the kind of selfing that is so easily, established and taken to be true and real. So, in addition to those three that are highlighted in the Anattalakkana Sutta, then you can also another kind of selfing that is very apparent or convincing is the choosing self. Like, I decide. This is I choose to go left rather than right. I choose to move forward. I choose to sit still. The sense of me making a decision, and then also as how the world operates, how the world sees us, as those decisions have meaning, they have value in deciding to do something wholesome, deciding to do something unwholesome. The world gives that value and meaning and makes it solid. So that sense of me who decides things and is the one who chooses. Yeah, and I could go on. There's many different ways. The feeling self, the one who's I'm hot, I'm cold. I'm happy, I'm unhappy. I'm glad, I'm depressed. That the solidity that the mind gives to all those I ams, me's and mine's is extraordinarily strong and convincing, and that the conditioning that is here, that comes from birth and from a lifetime, is extraordinarily powerful. But I think those of us gathering together for a Saturday night in a Buddhist monastery probably are the kind of people that are ready to explore, these particular qualities, and to look at these habits of mind in a different light, rather than taking these to be true. Yeah, but I am this. I do own this. This is me. I am a woman. I am a man. I am so many years old. This is my nationality. I am a doctor. I am a teacher. I am retired. Yeah. This is my body. That the kind of people, those of us gathered together for a Saturday night to be in a Buddhist monastery and to celebrate the Katina festival here at Abhayagiri, and to spend time in each other's company in a very quiet, restrained, composed way. You're ready to look at these kind of selfings and habits of mind in a very, very different way. So the teaching on anatta, not self, is all to do with getting perspective on those habits of mind and working to not take them seriously, to not believe in them as absolute substantial realities, and to say, notice which ones are strongest within us. So it might be that the mind isn't particularly identified with a sense of owning in terms of possessions, but it's very definitely the owner of the body. Or it might be that the idea of, say, physical death is not threatening or challenging, but the idea of not being, the idea of this life ending, of not being anything, can be terrifying. So it's in the teachings and the development of insight meditation, vipassana, and also at the tea time we were talking about wise reflection, yoniso manasikara. It's a lot to do with the exploring the habits of our own mind, where this mind really gets stuck, because some areas of selfing and attachment identification might be really easy to see through. They can be recognized very, very quickly, very directly. Oh yeah, how could anything be owned by anyone, really? And the mind lets go of it, and there's no kind of stickiness. Other areas we find in our life is very, very deep attachment, and it's extremely hard to get a perspective. So it's good to know your own character. Very helpful to know your own nature, the conditioning of this mind, this body, this life. This is called atanyuta, one of the 7 qualities of a well-rounded person, of a sappurisa, is atanyuta, knowing this character, knowing your own personality, knowing the conditioning of this being. When I was down in Berkeley on Tuesday, at the first Tuesday of the month gathering there, I shared a story about discovering some of my own strong conditioning, this life, this mind, this being, and probably a few of you have heard this story before, and or were there in Berkeley, but this came about when we were replacing the roof on Chithurst House in the early days, and someone was asking about this at tea time, day before yesterday here. So we were at the stage of replacing the crumbling, leaking roof on this old Victorian mansion in the southern English countryside, Chithurst House. And we had professional contractors to do all the tiling, but a lot of us Sangha members were doing the kind of peripheral jobs. And I was given the job of replacing the gutters. It was very big. The house had a big, complicated footprint, so many ins and outs. And doing the guttering, it wasn't just a big rectangle. There's lots of ins and outs, and it was a complicated task. It took many weeks to do this, and so the whole house was scaffolded. They had scaffolding all the way up, this 2-story house up to the roofline. And after working on this for 5 or 6 weeks, I got pretty familiar with climbing around up and down the ladders and in and out of the scaffolding, putting the gutters in place bit by bit and replacing all of the old cast iron ones. And so on this particular day, I had to make my way down from the gutter level, the roof level, down to the ground, and I was pretty complacent. I was 25, 26 years old, reckless youth, and so I had a small spirit level, a metal spirit level that I used to measure the level nature of the gutter and to make sure that the gutter was falling at the right angle. And I had this little spirit level in my left hand, and if I had been careful, I would have taken that spirit level, put it in my pouch, and then taken hold of the scaffolding bar with my bare hand. But I thought, I don't need to bother putting it into my pouch. I'll just take hold of the scaffolding pole with the spirit level still in my hand. I'll have a good enough grip. But being metal on metal, my hand slipped around and there was no grip whatsoever, and I dropped from the roof level down into the flower bed. And the story I was telling was that not only was it extraordinarily reckless and stupid to have tried to put my whole body weight onto one hand that didn't have much grip. I didn't realize how little grip I would have. But one of the most interesting and sort of embarrassing / insightful aspects of this experience was, as I was falling, it was about 30 feet from the gutters down into the ground level, 30 feet-ish. I've never calculated it exactly, but somewhere around that. So the thought in my mind was not worrying about breaking my back on a piece of scaffolding or getting impaled on some rebar or kind of breaking my neck as I fell into the flower bed, or the rest of the Sangha having to find this sort of dead monk in the flower bed. That none of that crossed my mind. But the only thought in my mind was, I hope no one's watching. So I didn't want to be seen as an idiot, as a fool, someone who'd made a stupid mistake. So that was really revealing, that my vanity was stronger than my fear of physical death. Thought, wow. So I was kind of lying there in the flower bed, and fortunately there was a little box hedge, and box is quite small leaves and dense springy branches, so it was like a nice cushion to land on, very conveniently. so I had a soft landing and didn't break anything or really bruise anything, except my ego. So that was really revealing. I thought, wow, your appearance in the eye, your imagined appearance in the eyes of others, is more important to you than being disabled, causing yourself painful injury, dying. Yeah. And then the other Sangha members having to tell my family, that their son, brother, just died from a stupid accident, falling off the scaffolding while replacing some gutters. What was more important in my mind was that I didn't look like a fool. So that ego death was far more challenging or off-putting than physical death. So that was a very revealing insight, and it made me just look, right, wow, you're a Buddhist monk, you're a professional meditator, and selflessness is a sort of key piece of your life, but this vanity and ego-centered thinking is really strong. So we need to look at that. So that, when you recognize there's a trait, and so each one of us, maybe ego-centeredness or vanity is not a big deal for you, but maybe the idea of having to choose and being the one who chooses, makes decisions, that's what's really strong for you, or your identity with your nationality, or your profession. I am a doctor. I am the boss. I am your father. I'm your mother. That those our roles, our professions, our attachment to our body, or the fear of non-being, all these different areas that they can all be, all of them can be significant in our lives. So it's good to explore and see, well, what is the mind really attached to? What does it take as really being me and mine, who and what I am? Where are the areas of the weak attachment and where are the areas of strong attachment? Yeah, also I was reminded, ex-Sampajano, or current Sampajano, saying hello and saying how he was doing some woodwork up in the, tree work up in the forest. It reminded me of one of the last times I was helping out with some work tasks here a number of years ago. And my life is very bureaucratic these days. I do a lot of talking, go a lot of meetings, and I don't have a very physically active lifestyle these days. Living here at Abhayagiri is a lot of physical engagement. Just even go back to your kuti and take a nap, you have to, unless you've got an EV to get up the hill. You've got to climb 400 feet to go have a nap. It's hard work even to be lazy. So it's a very physically engaging place, which I always thought was a wonderful thing. So anyway, I had become generally kind of soft and even more incompetent physically than usual. And so we were doing a bit of forest clearing, and it was up around the area of below the ordination platform and around where the sauna is. And we were clearing some wood, and some of the people were chopping up. There was rounds from a few trees that had been cut down and sliced up, and some people were chopping that up for firewood. And so, in the process of this little work task that we were having, then there was I thought, well, I'd finished the bit of work I was doing, and so I thought, okay, well, no one's doing the chopping up the splitting the rounds to make firewood. Okay, I can do some of that. So I took this round of wood from one of the trees that had been cut down, placed it on the block, and I forget who was there as well, but I put it on the block and then picked up the axe, and there was a general sense of and maybe one or two of the Sangha members gathered around saying, "Are you sure you're okay with that axe, Ajahn? You know how to use that?" And there's a sort of this kind of grumble. Of course I do, but there was that ego-centered feeling. I thought, okay, well, and also within me the sense of I hope I do manage this okay. But I did grow up on a farm, so I do know how to handle an axe, or at least I knew that I used to know. So I carefully took hold of the axe, lined it up, and brought it down onto the edge of this round, and then it split into 5 pieces with one stroke. And this feeling of intense satisfaction. Yes! Not only did I manage to split the round, but it went into 5 pieces with one stroke. So, and I could feel this kind of this drunk ego feeling of like, see guys, I can do it. And it was really funny, really. It's kind of just seeing that sort of that flush of meanness, like, yes, look what I can do, kind of, like I can chop a log into 5 pieces with one strike. Yeah. And so that just the habits can still be there, but what we do with vipassana meditation and the development of wisdom, of insight, is we get to see it just as a habit, just as a pattern. It's just like, well, look at that. And what this means is essentially learning to not take your own habits, your own body, your own personality, personally. As Luang Por Sumedho has often said, don't take your life personally. That's the title of his most recent Dhamma book, which is filled with wonderful teachings, but just the title on its own, it's like, just take that and sit on that for a month. Don't take your life personally. And so I would say that's really the essence of insight meditation and development of vipassana, is to learn to see this life and the things that we feel that we are, the things that we feel that we own, and just to see those patterns and to not take them personally. We don't have to suppress them or pretend they're not there, and they're not going to go away just in a finger snap. But we can learn to not take them personally. So if there's sort of strong ego-centered tendencies that when something goes badly, like falling off the scaffolding because you've done something extraordinarily stupid, or whether you do something that's pleasing, like breaking a log into 5 pieces with one blow of an axe, then just seeing that, oh, look at that pattern, look at that habit. It's like that. It's that shape. It's that form. Here's the cause. Here's the effect. It's not a person. It doesn't belong to a person. It's just this pattern in nature, just like the shape of a leaf, or the form of a flower made of wax, or these kind of beautiful decorative wax pineapples, or these kind of say the shapes that are formed now either naturally or by human hands, or it's just this particular pattern, this particular form, this particular configuration. That's all. No more, no less. Nothing that has to be burdensome, nothing that has to be limiting, nothing that has to be identified with at all. So I feel when coming together to celebrate the Katina, to celebrate the relationship between the lay community and the monastic community, helping each other along on this path, I would say one of the key things that we're all coming together to celebrate is that the importance of the Dhamma teachings in our lives, and how much of a difference it makes when we don't take these lives personally. We see things in a different way, and that shift from seeing things in terms of self-view, I and me and mine, to seeing things in terms of Dhamma, of nature. That's the change of view. I'd say that's really what is the essence of stream entry, of entering the stream of Dhamma, is training the heart to see things with the eye of Dhamma, rather than the eye of self, the eye of I, me, and mine. Oh, mysteriously, one of the aspects of not taking your life personally is that again, everyone's experience is going to be different, and that the things that the mind attaches to is going to be different. But one of the things that is revealed from in most cases, as the mind sees things in a less personalized way, is that it's recognized that we live in a relational state. When you realize more and more, when you say, I did this, or I did that, or I did this, it was a terrible mistake, or I did that, it was a great success, that it becomes more and more ridiculous or absurd, because when we say I did or I have, then you realize, well, not really. Like coming back to visit Abhayagiri, and I was one of the people helping to start this place 27 years ago. 1996 we opened the place up, and then someone might say to me, "Oh, you must be really proud of what's become of your place." And well, yes, but it's not really my place. It's like that. When you say, you were the founder of this place, it's like, well, it was kind of a group effort. You could take it personally. You could say, I did that. But the more the mind sees things in terms of Dhamma, the more that sense of I did this or I did that, either as a failure or a problem, or as a success, or somewhere in between the two, that it becomes more and more obvious as ridiculous something ridiculous. And we don't do things alone. Life is a relational process. The idea of independence in terms of being an individual is absurd. If we cut off the air supply, if we don't have any oxygen, then our life is over. The food that we eat, where is it coming from? The earth and the many plants and animals and beings, and the living system of the earth is what provides our food, what provides the nourishment for these bodies. So that that recognition, as we let go of self-view, that this is a relational process. Practice of Dhamma is dependent on or recognition of the involvement of other beings, other lives, and being part of a living system, and that the way that we help each other and that we are related to each other becomes more and more obvious, more and more significant. So I feel it's very significant that the Lord Buddha established the Sangha as a community, a like-minded spiritual community, the fourfold assembly of nuns and monks, laymen, laywomen, to help each other, to support each other, in recognition of that sort of relational nature of Dhamma practice. And that sense of working together, supporting each other, is another of the things that the Katina festival celebrates, the symbiotic relationship, the connected relationship between the lay community, the monastic community, and the radical importance of spiritual friendship, that we need each other, we depend on each other, and we flourish by being helped by others, and also by helping others. One of the there's many aspects to this, but one of the things I was reflecting on today is how, when the Buddha established the Sangha, it's very much a meritocracy. That there's no people don't get special treatment. So that the robes that the Buddha wore was the same as the most junior people in the Sangha would wear. People didn't get special positions or special favors, even if you were kind of named as the most, Sariputta is named as the one who had the greatest wisdom, or Mahamoggallana the greatest psychic powers, or Sister Kema as the one who had the greatest wisdom amongst the nuns community. They didn't give any special privileges. They didn't necessarily get a kind of special advantages. Also, it's interesting to me that in the stories of the Buddha's life, the Buddha's son Rahula, very shortly after his enlightenment, he seems to vanish from all reference in the Tipitaka. There's a story of Rahula realizing enlightenment, but I don't know if there's a single sutta, a single Dhamma talk in the whole of the Tipitaka given by Rahula. And it seems, and as I understand it, that once he'd reached arahantship, the stories I've heard is that he took himself off to go and live in a remote region. He didn't want to take any advantage out of being the Buddha's son. He didn't want to have any kind of special status or be seen in any kind of special way, so he sort of took himself out of the picture. So maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think there's a single teaching in the whole of the Pali Canon by the Arahant Rahula. It's like he completed his work as a monk, and then disappeared because of not wanting to be anyone special or kind of having any status just by having the blood relationship with the Buddha. Similarly, Anya Kondanya, the one who was the first of the Buddha's disciples to realize stream entry, and the first one who became a bhikkhu disciple of the Buddha. Similarly, it seems that shortly after his enlightenment, he also took off and went to live in a remote region. There's a very sweet teaching where Anyakandanya returns after having been away for many years, and he says to the Buddha, "Do you remember me?" And the Buddha says, "Of course I do." And then Anyakandanya is sort of overwhelmed with emotion as he reconnects with the Buddha and kind of bows at his feet and is sort of crying and holding the Buddha's feet, and the Buddha just lets him have a good cry. And but he'd been away for many, many years, but again didn't want to claim any kind of special status as the Buddha's first disciple. Like, I was the first one, and that. But rather took himself off to live in a remote region, and then after, it seems like over a dozen years, he's away a long time, and then returns, and to the point where he'd ask the Buddha if the Buddha remembered him. So that kind of not wanting to be special, not giving any kind of unique status to anybody in any way, and also how the Buddha's charioteer Channa at the other end of the scale was keen for everyone to know. I was his charioteer when he was a prince. I'm a special monk. And right at the end of the Buddha's life, just before the parinibbana, he because Channa was kind of incorrigible on this, or trying to seemingly kind of reading the teachings and between the lines of the teachings that Channa was determined to be someone special. The Buddha thought, this guy's incorrigible. So right before the parinibbana, the Buddha said you have to give the bhikkhu Channa the Brahma Danda, the supreme punishment. He is to be put into what they say, put into Coventry. No one's to speak to him. He has to go into a state of ostracism, and that Channa is so shocked that the master would do this just before his final passing away, that singled out for a special scolding just before the final passing away, that finally the message got through to Channa, and he was able to kind of drop his conceit and wanting to be someone special, seemingly. So I do feel that that evenness, that message of equality is extraordinarily important in what the Buddha was establishing, and that sense of no one gets special treatment, everyone is equally important, everyone is equally worthy of respect, no one gets a special deal. But I feel that evenness, that lack of bias or preference is a beautiful and wonderful thing that the Buddha established in his way of, setting up the Sangha and his establishing his teaching in the world, and it's a very good example for us in community life, both in the monastery, also in family life, in the workplace, that we treat everyone with equal respect. We are not acting out of bias or favoritism, just because you happen to like someone or they're easier to get along with. So then you want to give them some special favors, or someone is difficult or as a challenge to get along with, you don't want to kind of make things more difficult or hard for them. But rather say, well, whether I like this person or not, I should relate to them in a respectful, kind and unbiased way. And that is a great source of harmony in the monastery, in the family, in the workplace. I feel that's something that I feel very, very grateful for in my own family, that my parents were very, very kind of clear on that. Like, no favoritism between I have two sisters, between the three of us. It was fair shares for all. No one got any special favors. And even though, seemingly from hearing through the grapevine, that some of us as children were easier to work with and deal with than others, my parents were absolutely unbiased. It was completely fair shares for all. Everyone had equal treatment, and that was made for very, very good relations within the family. I feel a very, very good example, and you can't make yourself have you can't just decide to have a mind that that likes everybody in the same way, but you can have the attitude of kindness, of fairness, of evenness. So even if someone's really difficult to get along with, hard to understand, and really challenging, still, without being hypocritical, or without being sort of suppressive of your own emotions, you can recognize, well, this monk is really hard to get along with, but he is sincere, he's committed, and I'll do the best I can to make space for this person and to be respectful and kind and supportive. And another person is really easy to get along with, you understand each other really well, you have a very easy, friendly, happy time together, and say, well, okay, it's so nice, so easy to be with this person, but that doesn't mean I should be giving them extra favors or making, say, special gestures towards them. No, just because I happen to like someone doesn't mean to say I should inflate them or to give them any kind of special say favors or to give them any special advantage. And the result of that kind of evenness, fairness, I feel is something that bears great fruit in the family, in the workplace, in the monastery. It creates a very, very fertile environment, and we can say the words harmony, we can say the words living in concord, but you can't just sort of decide to be harmonious just by remembering the word or having the idea. But it takes that kind of say resolution in working with one's own attitude to not say play favorites, not to say be drawn by those habits of favoritism, of bias, but to have a profound quality of respect and evenness for all beings, and part of letting go of self and letting go of self-view and seeing things in terms of Dhamma, then that quality of freedom from bias, the agati, that's something that comes from that, and is a very very powerful force for concord and to make a fertile environment for Dhamma practice for a wide range of people. And I feel this is one of the great characteristics of our teacher, Luang Por Chah, was extraordinarily accommodating and unbiased in his manner, his ability to be available and open to, supportive to a vast range of different personalities was a very striking quality of and also I think why these branch monasteries of his have spread all over the world, and there's more than 350, I think, in Thailand and the far, and another 30 or 40 around the world. It's part of that fertility of Luang Por Chah's teaching, and this Dhamma family is that profoundly unbiased and open-hearted way of relating, making an environment that everyone feels they belong, they have value, and that they, irrespective of their personality, their character, whether they're quiet or loud, or whether they are scattered or focused, there's a place for everyone. Everyone belongs. I also like to express my appreciation for the wonderful work. Speaking of working together and communal support, communal, harmonious activity, it's delightful to see everything coming together in such a lovely way, with people making blessing cords in great piles and beautiful colors, and these lovely flower arrangements and these glorious beeswax pineapple arrangements. I'm not quite sure what these things are, but some kind of lotus bud / pineapple arrangements that beautiful devotional offerings come together here in the Dhamma hall and all around the monastery. It's very lovely to see everything coming together, and it's a manifestation of that spirit of concord, working together, and everyone lending a hand. That it comes into visible, tangible form in a very striking and inspiring way at this kind of time. But I feel that establishing the qualities in the heart that are the source, a genuine source of such concord, that the capacity to work together, the qualities of the heart, this is the most say significant and important thing, and that the Katina time is an opportunity to celebrate the fact that we can live together, we can work together, we can collaborate and support each other, and then the result of that collaboration and supportiveness of working together is a strengthening of Kalyanamitta, and that spiritual friendship that is a source of such great goodness in our lives and in the world. So I offer these words for consideration this evening.